This Saturday marks 2 years since the Federal Senate decided not to restore territory rights for the ACT and the Northern Territory regarding voluntary assisted dying. That's a mouthful. And what does it all mean? Thought I'd do a quick explainer. So, in the ACT and the Northern Territory, we're not provided for in the Constitution, unlike the states. For the states, the Constitution sets out the kind of powers they have to govern themselves and to legislate. Because the territories are not in the Constitution in that way, the way that we can govern ourselves is set up by federal acts of Parliament. So the federal Parliament established this act for us in the ACT in 1988, and essentially it sets out how we can do our business, how we can govern ourselves. And largely it's a bit of legislation that they kind of set and forget, and we run ourselves, make our own laws here in the ACT, but this is the document that gives us the power to do that. Because it's a federal act, that means that federal parliamentarians can, it's rare, but can insert things into it and also remove things out of it. And what happened in the mid-1990s is that federal parliamentarians decided to insert something into this act under this bit here that explains the kind of powers that are available to us here in the ACT. And it's these two sections here that essentially say that the ACT and the Northern Territory in their act have no powers with regards to voluntary assisted dying. None at all. That we cannot legislate in this area, that we have no freedom to decide if we want to legislate in this area. We are simply banned. So what this means for the citizens and the parliaments of the ACT and the Northern Territory is that until this is removed, and only the federal parliament can remove this, then we have no powers to legislate for voluntary assisted dying. None whatsoever. So yep, you're understanding that right. If you live somewhere where you have a state parliament rather than a territory parliament, then that parliament is free to decide whether to legislate for voluntary assisted dying or not. But simply because we live in a territory with a territory parliament and that our powers are established by this act and the federal parliament has inserted these clauses into this act, we are banned. We don't even get the choice to decide whether we want it or not. It's open and shut. We can't. We're banned. And that is just, to me, so unfair. It's so undemocratic, simply because of where we live, that we live in a territory rather than a state. And the fact that federal parliamentarians, every day they turn up there and they allow this restriction to persist on something that's so important to so many, that they allow this restriction to persist for a decent portion of the population, it's just really hard for me to comprehend. This is something that matters to us. We need to make it matter to them. I hope you'll join me.